Oh, yeah. Welcome out. This is the Remix Morning Show. Right here on Black Liberation Media, in case you didn't know. Now, I go by the name of the Ear Doctor. I'm ready to bring you that boom bap preface, but I can't bring it by myself. So let me introduce you to the host of the most, straight from the East Coast, straight from DC. Do you feel me? Jackie Lukman.
Oh, hey. Good morning, y'all.
Good morning. She's pulling it together, y'all.
I'm trying so hard. I have the remnants of COVID. It was so weird, Ear Doctor, because the whole time I was on the road with the campaign, I was hyper vigilant because, kidney transplant, I have to be careful. It's easier for me to catch other people's germs because of the immunosuppressants that I have to take so that I don't reject the kidney. So I know that I can't be around a whole bunch of people and not mask up. So the whole time, unless I was speaking, like I had my mask on, because people are germy.
Yeah.
And now people's germs are kind of dangerous for me, right? So I was fine. The whole how long was I gone?
I was gone for a minute.
I don't even remember how long.
I attribute it also to some of the food that's out on the road. Like, you never know whose energy is in your food or where it's coming from.
No, not the energy again. Okay.
Hey, what do I know? I just play music for a living.
Okay. So the first thing, this is so many stories on the road that it's just so much. But the first thing, the one thing that like stood out, that was the most ridiculous thing, other than the way we got COVID, was we get into Oakland, and I'd never been to Oakland before. So I was really excited to go see the Black Panther Museum. I'd never seen the bust of Huey P. Newton. Got to see the just amazing stuff. Got to, we're walking down the streets and we are, talking to people. We're taking pictures of the murals. There are Panther murals everywhere in Oakland. Oakland is Panther town. I don't care what anybody says. The legacy of the Black Panthers is very well respected in Oakland, but neoliberal policies are what they are. And so we get to Oakland, and it's really late at night. Our flight didn't get in until late. We didn't realize that our Airbnb was like an hour outside of, no, this wasn't Oakland. I'm sorry. This was Seattle. This is how confusing this is.
I hate them long.
Our Airbnb was an hour outside of Seattle. Seattle, absolutely beautiful. But I wouldn't want to live there because there's too many damn hills. We go to Popeyes.
Oh, that's where you messed up. That right there is where you messed up.
We went because there was nothing. It was like 11:30 in Seattle, and we're like, our flight just gets in. My comrade's cousin comes to pick us up from the airport, and he's like, "Well, nothing's really open, and y'all are kind of out here in the middle of nowhere." Like, in the middle of nowhere? I thought we were in Seattle. No, we were an hour outside of Seattle at this Verbo somewhere. Very nice house, but not near anything. So we go to Popeyes to get food just for the night. Why come? An 8-piece family dinner and what do you call it? A chicken sandwich meal. $80. $80.
What?
I was sitting in the car like, who's
Wait.
You heard me right.
Fast food ain't supposed to cost that much.
You heard me right. It was $80. That is the
for how many pieces of chicken?
all in all, it was 9 pieces of chicken. It was the 8-piece family meal with the biscuits. We got the 4 biscuits and the 3 sides. We got an extra side, and then his cousin, my comrade's cousin, Kwame Shakur, who I'm gonna bring him on one day because he's dope as fuck. He's the people I was rolling with in this campaign, dope as fuck. But yeah, Kwame was like, how much they say?
They added that up wrong. And you know what happened? Them dry ass biscuits got caught in your system. That's what's going on.
I'm calling up biscuit written.
You gotta drink a big Slurpee after them damn biscuits, boy. I remember back in them day.
So that was like the like I am still like, did we just pay $80 for some chicken at Popeyes? But that is an indication of the cost of living in Seattle.
Damn, you're right.
So then when you think about fast food, the worst kind of food you could possibly buy is probably really not even food, if we're really honest. Right? It's chemicals. It's food shaped chemicals. We all know that's what it is. All right. No judgment on anybody. I'm just saying, you just got to know what you're putting in your. I agree with you on that.
Coffee got to be $10 at least.
But that's I mean, I expect to pay like 25, maybe $30 for some fast food. Not 80, fam. $80. We dropped a dub on some chicken.
Man, a restaurant, you coming $200 out like a real restaurant? It got to be $200.
So that's crazy. So then we see that, and we're like sitting in the house that night, like traumatized, eating $80 chicken. Like, you gotta eat every damn bit of that chicken. It's some meat on that bone. Come back here.
Yeah. That's when you remember your mom and grandma like that. There's still some meat on that bone. What are you doing?
What you doing? Exactly. What you think? That chicken's cheap? You better eat that.
Speaking about meat on the bone. Kim Brown.
It's too early.
That was a lovely compliment.
It was.
Well, I mean, but the middle, that was for Naka. That was not for
that was a good compliment.
I don't know about that. I don't like the delivery.
I took it as a compliment.
You meat on the bone.
You're a juicy chicken.
So I'm meaty now.
Oh, I ain't say she was a juicy chicken. Speaking of juicy chicken, Erica.
No, she's not a juicy. No.
You started it, Jackie. I just said meat on the bone. Next thing you know,
I would categorize Ricky as a voluptuous peasant.
Voluptuous?
You heard that. You heard it.
How about that?
Voluptuous, yes.
Succulent pheasant. I think so. Come on, Kim. Chickens, first of all, chickens are adorable. People don't know this. Chickens are adorable. They are wonderful.
I don't know.
They are. I'm serious. They are wonderful companion animals. Chickens are actually very effective.
I don't know.
It's true. But chickens will peck your ass to death when you get on their nerves.
Oh yeah, they can peck you.
My grandma had a chicken coop back in the day, and I would not say the chickens are adorable. I mean, because they're birds, right? So they're kind of gross. They're nasty. That's how the whites fell victim to the plague and shit, because they was bringing the chickens into the bed with them and sleeping next to them niggas and shit. It's like, whoa.
The chicken's fault.
But to y'all's point about leaving meat on the bone, shout out to all the Marylanders, because when you eating crabs, and if you didn't pluck that crab, correct? Oh, you getting talked about at the table. Like, look at all that meat in that crab.
Damn.
You didn't even get all the meat. Somebody gonna come behind you and repluck your crab for you because you did not collect all the meat out the crab.
Yep. Take your little mallet from you. You don't know what you're doing.
You know what you're doing.
Yeah, I try to bring out that little cracker thing. It's like, what are you doing?
The what thing? The cracker thing. The what?
The thing that you crack the shells with. I had one of those walnut crackers.
No, sir. Listen to that.
I would use the walnut cracker and bust that shell up and get.
That's European rules. That's not.
That's like eating a slice of pizza with a knife and fork. You're right.
You need a mallet, a proper crab mallet.
Oh, okay.
To bang that joint. You don't crack crabs with a walnut cracker.
All right. So, ladies, how goes it? Erica, how was the book drive this weekend?
Well, there was no book drive this weekend.
What happened was
Oh, well, that's not what it was. Red Emma,
I'm thinking of school. Go ahead.
yeah. Red Emma's was hosting Baltimore's annual book festival. So Lisa McCrae, that we all know,
Hey.
and Belfina Yuan and Bree Reed, and another wonderful woman from the Afro. They were on a panel that we went to go support because Belfina is in BAP now. So we went to check that out and hand out flyers and engage people about AFRICOM. Yesterday started BAP's month of action against AFRICOM. So go to blacklionsforpeace.com on the AFRICOM page and you can download the toolkit. We are encouraging organizations and individuals to endorse. You can also participate. We have ways to have teach-ins and banner drops and all kind of things to agitate around AFRICOM, especially what's happening now, connecting AFRICOM to what's happening in the Middle East or in Western Asia specifically, because it's all tied in. But that's what we've been doing. Oh, and it's Friday at Red Emma's. If you are in the area, please come and check out Jamila Alexander, Petros Bien, and then Obi from the chat. They'll be talking about, they went on delegations in July to the Alliance of Sahelian States, Nicaragua, and Cuba. Wow. So they are all from this region, all from the Baltimore DMV area, and they got a chance to go to these sovereign nations, or these nations attempting to fight for and keep their sovereignty. And they're going to be talking about that experience and things that they brought back to Baltimore.
Nice.
Very nice.
So, Kim Brown, every time my notifications go off, you doing a new show. What you been up to?
That's Molly. Shout out to Molly, one of our radical whites. Molly be out here cranking out them shorts, shorty. You know, I don't edit a goddamn thing.
What's been going on?
What you mean? What's been going? Nigga, I just talked to you yesterday. What you mean? What's been going on since yesterday?
You talk to me, not the world.
Oh.
Why y'all getting on me? I'm just trying to be a nice guy. It's a good morning. You know,
it's Wednesday. It's Wednesday. Oh no, it's Wednesday, and we're on the brink of World War freaking 3. We're on the brink of another imperialist war. I think
where's
we're
the
all
love?
on a lousy fucking move.
All bad. That's what I'm saying. My show last night was about, you know, America. The empire is about to fall all by itself. You know what I'm saying? Like, it may not even need a whole lot of pushing. That joint just might tumble all down by itself. I mean, like, I'm devastated about what the folks in North Carolina, Tennessee, like this shit is crazy. Like, we are literally looking at an internal hurricane that hit a mountain region area in this country. Is grossly underprepared for all the coming climate catastrophes, and the fact that there are hundreds of people missing, hundreds dead. Some of these folks are not going to see restoration of power, water, cellular service for weeks, possibly. Like, this is the shithole country, if anyone was wondering. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's it right here, and I'm not happy to be living in America right now. I wish someone would come and take me away.
Go back to Africa.
Oh man,
okay.
I've been begging.
Give me a
ticket. You know, I'm like, I beg the racist. I'm like, please, can y'all please send me back to Africa? Like,
here's Colombia right now.
On my cat platform.
I was always thinking about going to a white neighborhood and like getting that sign and say "Send me back to Africa" and like have a bucket. Yeah, I will bank, yo.
Yo, the whites gonna be running to the bank to get their cashier's check. They'd be like, "Donkey, we be right back. Hold, stay right there." How many can we send with you? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
The man was calling the cops on you, Air Doctor.
We gonna send him somewhere. Probably will not be in this neighborhood.
So I know y'all was watching the debates last night.
Absolutely not.
I did watch the debate. I did watch it. It was interesting because it was lively. It was actually a debate. They actually talked about policy and some substance. And I'm like, wow, the two motherfuckers who don't have say over nothing.
Yeah, that's what I figured that would happen. It's like they would actually have a debate about policies and stuff like that because the other ones are just a show.
Oh man, yeah, no, it was it was an interesting watch though, but totally inconsequential.
Yeah, because they're not doing nothing.
Mm-mm.
And I mean, are either one of them telling the? I mean, I'm sure they did
Right.
tell the truth. I have to rewatch because I had to pass out yesterday, so I don't know what the hell happened other than Iran doing the thing. That's I woke up and found that out. Woo, so exciting. But this whole debate thing. I feel like I got to kind of push back a little bit on this, the idea that the vice president has no power.
Yeah.
So Dick Cheney ain't had no power? Because
Kamala.
Dick Cheney wrecked a lot of shit when he was vice president. Kamala Harris had,
I don't
the
think
vice
these
president
guys,
is
I don't think they're gonna let them in to do anything though. JD Vance and Tim, I don't think they're gonna ask JD Vance what he think. Trump, that is. Like, I don't see Trump or if JD Vance having a big say on the Trump administration, nor do I see Tim Walz having a big impact of the Kamala administration should she win, because that, they're already on the track. What can he say to add or subtract to the path that they're already chosen to be upon?
Well, the thing is, they were chosen because they're not going to subtract from the path they're on. They're not going to say anything that's going to change anything that they do. That's why they were chosen, because they're going to go along with everything the presidential candidate says. That's why they were chosen. So
specifically Tim Walz. Right, because there was a long list of potentials. Why Tim Walz? And then when you think about what they're proposing in terms of policy, he is up and down that neoliberal candidate that they can sell, right? And they have been they have, like, even when you hear pundits saying, oh, well, obviously they've been listening to the left because they've chosen Tim Walz.
We got a freeze going on.
Uh-oh.
Freeze warning on
while she's so the thing is, I always think of Dick Cheney, who was vice president when he did all the shit he did. He was never president, he was vice president, and he wrecked shop because he was given that assignment. Let's not forget that Kamala Harris was given the assignment of managing the border crisis. And how did she manage it? She told the immigrants not to come. She continued the right-wing immigration policies of her boss, of the first in command. She's the second in command. She's not an inconsequential player in all of this. The vice president is not an inconsequential office, because if anything happens to the president, and that's whether it's death, an illness that, a chronic, what's the word, like a terminal illness that they know they're not going to recover from, like if Biden had brain cancer, right? And he had to resign from the presidency because of his health, then it's the vice president who would carry out the rest of that term. So that role, that position is not inconsequential. That position doesn't not have power. The thing that I think people confuse is that they're believing that the vice president is going to oppose anything the president does. And vice presidents are not chosen to be in opposition to the president. Vice presidents are chosen to give assignments to that person in that position that the president doesn't really want to deal with, but they know they have to deal with it. So they put somebody in that position to handle that issue that they can trust. Mm-hmm. And if anything happens to the president, then there's a person who goes right along with the agenda who can step right in, and nothing changes and nothing stops.
It's like a substitute teacher.
Kind of. So I think people have a weird idea about
Jackie
what
agreed.
Vice presidents do and don't do, and how important the role is. They're the second in command. They're not like an assistant to an assistant to an assistant type of thing.
I also think that it's not maybe monolithic, maybe that's not the term, because there are, like, if you look at Trump's VP, right? He didn't really do much in terms of how much he was able to enact Trump's policy in terms of the administration. But to your point, he still had power. But I do think because we have seen vice presidents who do not enact their whatever power that they do have, there is an idea that they are dormant. But that's why I push back on how Kamala Harris was even perceived. I mean, so many jokes about where is she? What is she doing? Has anybody seen her? And meanwhile, she has been extremely busy, particularly in the Americas region, helping to expand Southcom, helping to encourage CARICOM to occupy Haiti. And then she goes to Guatemala and says, do not come here. The whole idea of her being known as the border czar is because of the role that she has played specifically in the immigration and America's foreign policy and continuing out the Monroe Doctrine. So domestically, sure, we could say we haven't seen her do anything, but she hasn't not been busy. She's been in Africa. She's been in the Americas. So they do send them as representatives of the nation to seek out the administration. But I do think even this idea or concept of power sort of dismisses that equally both the president and the vice president are not running this country. I mean, we have to be honest about that. Corporations and bottom lines and the ruling class runs this country, and they seek out with policies. That's why there's a lobbyist caucus and things like that. So I think it's really important of how we understand individuals of power, like in terms of why, especially when we look at this genocide that's happening, we have the masses of people in the street saying ceasefire at the very least. But they're not listening to the masses because they're not beholden to the masses. They are beholden to the ruling class. So I think that concept of power in that administration or any administration probably needs more assessing out.
So for clarity, when I say they're inconsequential, I mean no one's voting for Kamala Harris because she picked Tim Walz. No one's voting for Donald Trump because he picked J.D. Vance, right? The people have already made their decision. Those that are going to vote for Democrat or Republican are doing so regardless of who is the second in command on the ticket. So that's what I mean when I say inconsequential.
Inconsequential. Come on, okay, Franklin.
Never inconsequential. Deeply consequential.
Does he have on the fall thermal? Is this the
fall?
This is a T. This is a V-neck.
Oh, okay. Oh, you're right. I'm sorry. I didn't. Okay.
The thermal line now. We need that.
Muscles.
What muscles? Are they what?
What? You saw
Always muscles. I see one. Wait. Do it again.
You don't see it's right there. Squint.
Okay, I see it. Okay. But you see how quick he took it.
Is that a spasm?
You see her?
Was that or a spasm? What was that?
He's a spasm.
I mean, you're still fine, though. I mean, no, don't worry.
All those spaz.
Listen, I know you made it late, but we got a lot of news and a guest coming. Kamal.
So you're saying there's no time to talk to me about my day, blah blah blah, all that kind of good stuff.
You got 2 minutes. Go.
2 minutes. Okay, I'm doing good. You know what I'm saying? It was like a hard ride. There's a lot of traffic.
Oh,
crazy.
Toss the kids out the window. Are they too big to be tossed out of the window?
I would toss them out. Particularly my daughter she's got no understanding of time. When I picked her up from school, she was the absolute last person. Cars were passing me by because she went back inside to try to sell cookies and then tried to tell me, oh no, I was in the bathroom. I was like, I saw you. I'm back inside with the cookies. And then this morning, I was like, we got to hurry. I was like, make your breakfast fast.
Make your breakfast? Now you make it.
Breakfast.
Oh, yeah. Well, she can make her breakfast.
Wait a minute.
She makes eggs. But then I go to the car. She said, I'm right there. I go to the car. 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3. I was like, what's going on? I'm inside. She's still like doing all this.
It's like I'm cleaning the dishes from making my own breakfast,
no, she
Dad.
never does that. Never will she do that. She's not cleaning dishes.
She would be happy that she went back into the school to sell more cookies. I thought that would make you
not
happy.
When I'm the absolute last person. I was so late. I was the last one, but not taking kids to school these days. I guess. No, you are, Erica. Well, like where the teachers are outside, and then they direct traffic, and then they all leave to go home.
Oh,
I was still out there.
Yeah,
the teachers had left.
The teachers go home.
The teachers left.
Sorry.
I'm still waiting on her.
Crossing guards gone.
Everybody's gone. It's like the night shift that's coming
Right,
out.
the after school program.
The after school program starting.
Look at the
Sitting out
ambition of the
there.
child. Look at the drive of the child wanting to do
Yeah.
more.
But
You know what I'm
she's
saying?
She's selling cookies for the school, not for home. She's making that
Yeah, I'm
money.
not getting that money. In fact, she lost a check. I got to replace the
Then
check.
why
for
do y'all
$25.
let y'all children participate in such things then? Like why did
so
why
they
do
can
y'all
win a
let,
prize.
but
It's
it's
kinda
dumb though.
coercion,
Like
by
I
the way.
They get excited
disagree with
about it.
the whole concept of children having to sell stuff in order to
Yeah.
earn their place in school. What kind of
Yeah.
shit is this?
Yeah,
They
and
get
then you wind
excited.
up selling it as the parent taking it to work.
Right. You wind up buying 87 boxes of cookies. So your kid gets
Shit is
What kind of
crazy.
cookies? Are these Girl Scout cookies?
I hope
cookies
not.
are 2 boxes.
No, they're
no,
not
they
the
better
Girl
not be
Scouts.
Girl Scout cookies.
No.
What's wrong with the
Fucking
Girl
war
Scout
cookies.
cookies? I
War
actually like
cookies,
the butter.
Raytheon
What
cookies,
is
war
it?
cookies.
Butter?
What
What happened?
happened?
Girl Scout, they have this Girls in STEM program. It's a contract with Raytheon.
Look, B.
What's that got to do
I
with
stopped doing everything. Everything.
got to do with the cookies?
What's that got to do with them mint
Look at
joints?
y'all.
What's
I
that got
mean,
to
living
do
in
with
the streets.
Samoas?
That's the problem there.
I used
That's
to
part
slang
of the,
Girl
I agree, it's
Scout
part of the
cookies.
problem. Huh?
I used to slang Girl Scout. I was a Girl Scout. We had
But that was
boxes.
pre-war, I guess.
Pre-war.
Yeah,
Wow.
that
This was
That
during
was
the
pre-
There's
Reagan
the Stone Ages. There's no war when you said
We was at war with
it's
somebody.
before Vietnam, World War II, World War One, the
was
Civil War.
pre-Raytheon cookie batter.
Pre-war.
was-
Wow.
All right, y'all.
Moles.
Let's
Box.
take a break and get back to it and get focused because y'all just all over the place. All right, Remix Morning Show, y'all. We're gonna take a break and come right back right here on the Remix Morning Show. I just said that twice. That's right. Damn, James. You know I had to do a spotlight on my boy. All right. First of all, hit that like button, subscribe if you're new to the channel. Go to patreon.com, become a member over there and get footage that's rare. And you can also go to the bottom of the screen and be like, oh, snap. What is that at the bottom of the screen? That is the website, blkliberationmedia.org, where you can go ahead and donate and show some love. With that said, let's talk about Artist Spotlight. And who am I going to talk about? As you can hear in the back, damn, James, why you have to leave us like you did? James Amos. That's right. Also known as John Allen Amos Jr. He is known for playing the adult version of Kunta Kinte. Also, James Evans Sr. on Good Times. And so many other joints. He started off doing something on the Mary Tyler Moore Show. And then he started doing a lot of other roles, talking about role of a mayor on The District. He also even did some Broadway. He has a Primetime Emmy Award, NAACP Award, so many different movies. Y'all know him from Coming to America as the dad, Mr. McDowell. You know what I'm saying? He also played football for Colorado State, and he had a little bit of playing time in the NFL for the Kansas City Chiefs. You didn't know that, did you? But you also didn't know he was straight from Newark, New Jersey. Big up, blah, 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 blah. So, yeah. He got to play football. He got to do his acting. He even was a Golden Globes boxing champion. This dude wasn't no joke, man. A lot of people don't know all the different things he did, but he was doing it. Now, he came on the Good Times show, him and Esther Roll, and it was finally like, oh, we got a black family on there. And he didn't like the fact that they was highlighting JJ so much as the buffoon on the show. He was trying to show more of the positive aspect of a black family struggling to make it out of the ghetto. So, you know what they did? They said, yo, we got to kill this nigga. So they wound up killing him, and your girl was like, yeah, she said, damn, James. And there he went. Now, he just passed away at the age of 84. And this was like a week or so ago. His publicist and family just letting the news out. So, yeah, passed at 84, actually on August the 21st. And it's just getting the news is coming out yesterday. So big up to that brother for his work on Roots. Big up to Good Times. Big up to Coming to America, some of my favorite. And he is also inducted into the New Jersey Hall of Fame. All right, with that said, let's get back to the Remix Morning crew. You know how we do. All right.
Wait a minute. James died in August?
Oh,
And we're
yeah.
just
Wait,
How do you keep
what?
that quiet?
Yeah, because his family did not want the media to know about it, they wanted their time to grieve without the attention, and they had a right to do that, and good for them.
First of all, he's not that famous for white America.
Well, see, why you go?
You're not. I'm just saying.
How you gonna complain?
Why
that
you
you
ain't
never
waiting to hear
been dead
the
for a month?
news that JJ that the daddy, what's his name on the show?
James.
James Evans died. White media was not at the door being like, is James Evans walking out today? You know what I mean? That wasn't like he was gonna get swamped by the media. And there's like 3 black outlets left in America. So that's not, you know what I'm saying? That's not.
I respect his family's right to
Uh-oh.
grieve their loved one's loss outside of the media attention, regardless of how famous or infamous he was or was not.
Just don't bring up the family picture, Kamal. We don't.
I left it alone. I'm gonna leave it alone.
Okay, cool.
I'm gonna leave it
Let
alone.
him live. Well, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I did pull it up though, if y'all wanted to see, but I decided to leave it alone. Huh?
I'm a little curious.
You're curious?
What? You don't know?
Gordy, right? He was Gordy on Mary Tyler Moore, right?
Mhm.
I'm like, what the hell was he on Mary Tyler Moore's show?
That was his claim to fame. I think was his first.
Well, see,
Mhm.
the whites would have cared. The whites would
See,
have
look
cared.
at that. And he did a couple series of Maude.
Oh, I loved Maude.
No, he didn't do Maude. What's the
He did
name?
a couple.
Maude?
He did a couple. He was on like 3 episodes of Maude.
Oh, I thought it, what's the name was on Maude because she was the maid, right?
Yeah.
Florence.
Yeah, Florence.
Marla.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Marla Gibbs.
All right.
Maude had
Yes.
a great
No,
theme song.
that's not Marla Gibbs.
It was.
That
Maud
was Marla
I
Gibbs.
love Maud. That was
Me
such
too.
a
Hey, Ear Doctor, we got to do a spotlight on Marla Gibbs. We got to give her flowers.
yeah.
I thought
And
I
also
did.
Maude.
Okay. I actually thought I did.
Well,
one of
do
these
another
years.
one.
I'll do
All
it,
right,
man.
so he was married twice.
Mm-hmm.
So this was the
Here we
first-
go.
I
You
was
couldn't let him. You couldn't let him.
Erica asked. I'm trying to satiate her curiosity. I was not curious because I was asked. So that was the first wife,
First wife.
Oh.
What was her name?
Noelle Noni Mickelson.
Mm.
Okay.
And this is her later on. That's the same person with a different hairstyle or whatever.
Mhm.
But he divorced his second wife, which was a brief marriage, was to a black actress.
Really?
Okay.
Look at that.
Yeah,
Okay.
Lillian Lehman.
Came back.
Came-
Came back.
He came back to the other
He
side.
came back. He did come back.
Right.
But not for long. No.
No, he divorced her right away.
That's how he looking at you right now, Kamal. He's like this nigga. All right, let me get up out of here, man. Y'all have a great show. Peace.
Oh boy.
John Amos, like most actors, again, like people don't usually get multiple memorable roles, right? James Evans Sr., indelible, and I guess the black lexicon in some way. But then Mr. McDowell in Coming to America, can I tell you, when my guy had lied, like baby, when I tell you the boy got his own money, like, do you understand how well he delivered that line right there? How convincing, like, what a thespian. So, oh man.
I give him credit. He was a great actor. From what I was thinking,
very
he was a
good
really good actor. Yeah.
And so I saw all of the side commentary in the chat about the rules of the government of this empirical hellscape. Like, do y'all think rules matter to these people? Like, okay, so they put a bunch of rules down on paper that they're supposed to follow about how the law is supposed to work and how politicians are supposed to behave. And you think they follow any of that crap? Like, their rules don't mean anything even to them. They create those rules to tell us when they do stuff illegal, oh, that's not really what happens. No, because see, the rules say this and we can't possibly do that. And they sitting up there breaking their own rules and committing crimes all of the time. So how things are supposed to work in this system according to what they put on paper means nothing, because they have never done what they put on paper. They have never carried this out the way they laid it out on paper, because if they had, we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be sitting here on October 2nd talking about we're on the threshold of a wider imperialist war in the Middle East, led by this piece, doing a whole bunch of illegal, immoral crap that's very much against the rules, taking money, U.S. politicians taking money from foreign lobbying entities. That is supposed to be illegal in this country. But how many politicians get their paychecks from AIPAC? How come AIPAC is the only, as far as I know, the only foreign lobbying entity other than J Street and other Israeli lobbying entities that do not have to register as foreign agents? They're the only ones. Why is that? Because the rule is supposed to be, according to the rules that these people wrote, the rule is supposed to be that every lobbying entity of a foreign country has to register as a foreign agent, except for Israel. That's not in the rules, except for Israel. That exception is not in the rules for for registering foreign agents. It's not in the rules, but that's what they do. And if you challenge them on it, then they'll bring up Israel has a right to defend itself, blah, 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 blah. Sending weapons to Israel against international law, against the rules. Facilitating a genocide against international law. Completely against the rules. So these people's rules don't matter. What they do is what matters. So I just wanted to point out, I'm not sure why y'all are talking about, the rules don't say this. These people don't give a shit about those rules. We wouldn't be damn near at war if they did.
Buenos dias. Bonjour. Good morning. Good day. Welcome, everybody. It's the Remix Morning Show Wednesday edition. It's the Women's Wednesdays plus Kamau, plus the Ear Doctor. We got Jacqueline Lukman in the building. Erica Kane's in the building. My name is Kim. And it's y'all. What's up, Remixers? Thank y'all so much for coming in, pissing everybody off early. We appreciate that. That's what y'all do. that is y'all's special gift and skill. And where would we be without that? So thank you all so much for joining us today. It's Wednesday, October the 2nd, 2024. There's so many things happening around us. We are going to discuss and delve into some of the things. We have a guest coming up at 9 o'clock, I believe, joining us to talk about Haiti. But in the interim, we're going to get into some news. So do us a favor, like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed. We're going to be having some new directives coming to y'all pretty soon. So be paying attention, get the notifications, follow all the subsequent channels under the Black Liberation Media banner. We appreciate that. If you want to send us some material support, you can do so. blkliberationmedia.org. And where else, Kamau? Where else can they send the money?
They can go to Patreon right now. So Patreon is the other place to send us resources. I'll drop both links in the chat. If you want to do just a one-time offering, or if you want to do once a month or whatever like that, please go to blkmedia.org, and I'm dropping that in the chat. And the Patreon, if you want exclusive content, but you will get nowhere else at all. We are continually dropping new gems on the Patreon. Please go over there and subscribe. We have over 800 Patreons, over 500 are paid. We're trying to get over 1,000. We're over $3,000 for the first time ever in terms of monthly support and donations.
Thank you guys.
Yeah, we need more of your money. I'm gonna be nice today.
Okay.
Being nice today.
It didn't sound like a thank you though, Kamau. You said we need more.
No, that was still nice though.
No. We can we practice gratitude? We need someone to come on here and help us practice gratitude. Well, help Kamau practice gratitude.
They should be grateful that we're here and showing that gratitude. Be great on their part. Yes, I agree with you.
Anyway. So we have there's no where would y'all like to start? Would you like to start in the burning part of the world or in the drowning part of the world? Like where does anyone
the striking part of the world?
Yeah, I know. Let's kind of start in between the burning and the flooding part, because the burning and the flooding part are actually kind of connected, believe it or not. So of course we see what happened in the aftermath of Hurricane Helene. And a couple of things have emerged that have been very interesting while we're watching this climate catastrophe unfold again. And we're seeing now what it's going to look like, right? Within these so-called borders. So the National Guard in North Carolina, no, I'm sorry. Yeah, no, in Tennessee, the National Guard in Tennessee was deployed to the Middle East days before Hurricane Helene hit. Hurricane Helene hits Tennessee, portion of Tennessee, deeply, deeply affected. No National Guard. Why come? Because they're in the Middle East. So the Coast Guard has to deploy to help people in Tennessee because National Guard gone. Then we find out that in several states, National Guard troops have been deployed to the Middle East. So there has been a deployment of U.S. troops, boots on the ground in the Middle East over the past at least month, if not longer, that has not been publicized at all, except for in local outlets. And if you are not in the area where the National Guard unit was deployed, you wouldn't know. So this is happening. People don't know what's happening. We have been talking about military recruitment being down. We've talked about that several times on this show. The Department of Defense have been complaining about low enlistment levels for years, for at least 5 years, if not longer. And they've been crazy. Like, what do we do? Oh my God, nobody's joining the military. So now we've got this conflict that is expanding in the Middle East because the U.S. is giving weapons to the entity that is carrying out the widening conflict because they know that they want them to do that, right? The U.S. is using Israel exactly like the U.S. used Ukraine against Russia. It's almost, maybe not for the exact same reason, but it's a proxy type of situation, right? Israel is the U.S. outpost in the Middle East, and they are doing what the U.S. has intended for Israel to do all along. But now that Israel has carried out this tip of the spear plan for this wider Middle East war, who's going to fight it? Who's going to fight this war? Because there are not that many people in Israel to continue to fight a ground war that is expanded now into Lebanon, and now Iran has responded. Where are those people going to come from? Where do y'all think? Where do y'all think those people are going to come from? They're going to come from here. That poverty draft that the Pentagon has had for decades that I talked to Ricky about at the Real News Network. How many years ago was that? Several years ago. That poverty draft is being ramped up. If you notice, if you've been watching football, just to kind of block everything out like I've been doing, have you noticed the increased military recruitment commercials? I've seen more of them this season, than last season. I don't think that's a coincidence. I don't think that's an accident. Then you have the fact that there's this thing that is in the NDAA, the 2025 NDAA, I think, or maybe it was the 2024, something called an electronic draft. So there is this system that the Department of Defense is apparently either perfecting or creating, which automatically puts people who have registered for the draft into a draft portal. Now, they claim that there are no plans to implement a draft. If there are no plans to implement a draft, why would you create a system that is an electronic automatic draft if you have no plans to use it? So
how would they enforce a draft though? Like, I mean, I know what happened during Vietnam. They were, conscription, basically compelling people to enlist. Just sending them assignments like, all right, nigga, show up at Fort Bragg next Wednesday, right? Yeah. And some people did show up and some people fled, right? So I'm trying to figure out in 2024, what does a draft look like? Because I don't see you compelling people to do it unless you're going to put them in jail, which I'm sure they would be more than happy to do. But I think especially if you want to see the whites rebel, I don't think they're going to go for that. So I'm curious as to what that even could and would look like, a 21st century draft.
I think, like, to Jackie's point, we're seeing that with the austerity policies, right? Squeezing communities. It's the same. Why are more colonized people enlisting to be police officers? The NYPD is majority Black and Puerto Rican. like there's a
So you think
good
people will volunteer? You think
Yeah,
people
but
will
right, but
volunteer?
but there are conditions I think that they could tighten in the same way that they did before. Like even if people are fleeing, I do think that they do create conditions where they leave people with minimum options. So I don't think that the draft is like something that's impossible, but I do see your point in terms about enacting it. But I also don't think that people are going to opt. I don't think that many people are going to opt for jail or military. I mean, Jared talks about that being his options as well. When he was younger, that's even how he ended up in the military. So I think they do create particular conditions where these are your choices.
Mm-hmm. And I think this conflict is slightly different in a way that is pretty enormous, I think, from previous imperial conflicts, in that this conflict can very easily be marketed as a war against civilized society and Islam. I can see the white Christians. I can absolutely see them turning this is a war against the Christian nation and the godless heathen Muslims. So you're going a lot of white Christian men are going to enlist because of that.
I'm not sure
yeah.
because I'm sorry, Kamal, but just real quick, because that's what they did in Iraq, right? Like they were writing Bible verses on the goddamn missiles and on the bombs as they were loading them up to the destroyers. And I think that post the Iraq war and the war in Afghanistan, the whites themselves saw that their government abandoned them. All the whites, former military and veterans that had to sue the government over the burn pits and the cancers that were caused for that. Like the whites saw that they themselves were abandoned, right? As cannon fodder or as post-war casualties. And I would hope they would be a little bit hipper to the game by now, but I don't know if they'll go for it again. I think they went for it the first time. Bush got them all nice and riled up, but I don't know if Biden or Trump, I don't know if they compel that same sort of fanatical devotion to country, because I think the whites even themselves know that America has abandoned and turned their backs on them.
I mean, I think there'll be a couple of stages. I mean, I think we're a few stages away from a draft, in my opinion. I don't think that's really on the table right now. I think, like the volunteer army still works for their purposes. They had a volunteer army when they went into Iraq. They had a volunteer army where later they went into Afghanistan, because they know calling for a draft does cause instability. And the last time there was a draft, I was having this conversation yesterday with some folks. The last time there was a draft was when you saw in Vietnam was when you saw the largest uptick of anti-war sentiment, marches, demonstrations, and so forth. So if they can replenish their service members through propaganda, through gifts, through threats, through telling people, almost telling people who are locked down, here's your choices. That is probably what they will. That is what they will rely on until the very last moment. But also, I don't think the United States at this stage is going to be putting major troops on the ground at this. I think they're going to fight this war similar to Ukraine through Israel. I think that part is completely correct. Israel is going to be responsible as the lead for this war. And unless it gets out of control, I don't see why the U.S. would at this stage re-enter with mass amounts of troops. Well, now, will they carpet bomb? Hell yeah. Will they fire missiles from the sea? Hell yeah. Will they unleash drones? Of course they will. So, but I think they want to, as much as possible, not put thousands of troops on the ground because they don't want body bags coming home, right? And I think they're, like, as similarly said, I think they're okay with Israel suffering casualties to continue, its own claim and stake in the Middle East at the bequest of the United States, or in tandem with the United States, supporting logistically, weapons wise, monetarily speaking, and so forth. So I think that's what I don't want to say what we have to look forward to, but I think that's the direction we're headed towards, right? Where I don't, our discussion, I guess, that we were going to have from yesterday's, I don't know about where Iran, I don't think any nation wants to do a ground war with Iran. But will they lob missiles at Iran? Will they, again, Iran doesn't have the air defenses to stop the Israeli Air Force, or obviously the United States Air Force, from lobbing missiles and causing mass infrastructure destruction. I think we're possibly headed in that direction. But again, I think because of the way Iran shot its missiles, which to me were performative more than actually attempting to cause casualties or make damage, it's also, again, the opportunity. I see we're getting a little, okay. I think that also.
I think that's very slick the way that you went ahead and preempted your portion of your
Well,
argument.
I just started the conversation. That was just, we were talking the Middle East.
Very clever, Kamau.
I don't like what is a performative act in stopping somebody from.
You can't drop 182 missiles and not cause one casualty unless you're purposely not trying to cause casualties.
But why is that performative?
But right,
that's performative because the purpose of missiles is to destroy and destruct, to destroy things. If you're firing missiles and you're purposely missing infrastructure, you're purposely missing population areas, then the purpose of the showing of the firing of missiles is to show that you have the capability to respond. That's a performative act. That is not an act meant to drive a deeper war. It is not an act that's meant to say, as Israel has already done, murdered people in Syria, murdered Iranian generals, murdered Hamas in Iran, basically torn apart both Gaza and large parts of Lebanon. That is not and I'm not even suggesting they should, but I'm just trying to be clear that the act of dropping missiles can be done for several different means and measures, but one of which is to show, don't mess with us, but you're showing it, but you're also trying to be careful because you don't want them to cause the destruction that we all know that they're capable of causing.
But didn't
wait, can I just as come out something else. We were having so yesterday Kamau talked about Nasrallah's assassination and then what was happening, I guess more broadly, and used the word that he feels that the resistance has been weakened by this. And I in the chat said, well, I don't know if they've necessarily been weakened, but they've taken hits and they're fully understand, like that's not something that we don't understand, that there have been hits, and the Nasrallah one was a big hit. But the term weekend, that was the pushback, because what do we mean by weekend? Because I just had a chance to speak to Laith Marouf, and a couple Sundays on Activist News Network, we had those conversations. And in that conversation, post Nasrallah, well, we talked about Nasrallah before the assassination, and he was very clear that this might be the result, right? That he would die on the road to liberation. But in that speech, it was very clear that his death would not suppress or, Hezbollah will keep moving. So he got assassinated. Hundreds of people died in that bombing. That same week, the Iraqi resistance called that. They said they're going straight to attack the UAE, primarily because they know that the UAE is playing proxy in a big position as proxy in this whole thing. So the Iraqi resistance are armed and ready to go. Yemen hit a U.S. Navy ship in the Red Sea. Lebanon, as they're being bombed, never stopped striking. So even when you say performative, right? You're saying performative. For me, I think I don't even want to say it's semantics, but I'm curious about the words that you use, because you would say performative and not strategic, right? Because they've never moved like that. In the 11 months that we've seen this, not one or one collective of the resistance has ever attempted to target civilians. It has always been strategically targeting uniformed IOF operatives, mostly, right? That the ones that they can claim, if you watch Electronic Intifada, and then they targeted military bases, they targeted equipment. When you look at what Iran did yesterday, Iran went after the military base near Tel Aviv that directly was responsible for the bombs that dropped in Lebanon. They shut all those things, like they destroyed that base. Lebanon destroyed parts of the airport. They targeted high ends of Haifa, which is the second largest city. So when we had that conversation in chat, you know, I sent that to you mockingly, like, oh, I see their weekend, and you called it firecrackers. Mm-hmm. Which is, but again, these words, these terms that you're using, because I think that a lot of it does come off as like reductive, kind of, because I don't think that it's like a cheerleading, as you say, of the resistance. I do think it's for me, it is a sober analysis. I don't think that anyone is amiss here about what is actually going on and what's occurring and what they're up against. But for me, when you use the word weaken, how do you weaken a people who are prepared for martyrdom? How do you weaken a people or a resistance, right? Because you're saying, okay, they killed in response, like Israel. You named that Israel has done this many deaths. They killed this many buildings. But if that is not the objective of the resistance, then how do you determine that they have been weakened? And then when you watch the reaction of the masses of the people across the Arab people, across Arab nations, when you see the people with joy, right? Actual joy, not Kamala Harris joy, that they're standing on the missiles, right? How do you then say that the people have been weakened? So that's why I'm like, yes, they're taking hits. Yes, they're up against not just Israel, but the weapons that are being funded by the U.S. Yes, we understand that U.S. troops are on the ground. They're surrounded by proxy states. But if they have never swayed from the strategy, if they have continued to hit targets that they have listed, if you look at the Cradle, if you see their reports that they're listing out, they tell you what they're attempting to do. If they have never swayed from that, in spite of losing leader after leader after leader, in spite of taking hit after hit, are they weakened?
Yes, they are very much weakened. You cannot state our chant is to stop a genocide from taking place. When we're trying to stop a genocide from taking place, that means that thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, according to other people's estimates, of Gazians, of Palestinians have been murdered by Israel. Hamas's infrastructure has been taken down several notches, to be polite about it. Senior leadership of Hamas has been killed. Senior leadership of Hezbollah has been killed. Thousands in Lebanon have been killed. There is no way. Israel is currently invaded on the ground in Lebanon. Iran has not struck back in the same ways. And I dispute that somehow the resistance is above killing civilians. That is not the history of this. That is not the history of the resistance.
I don't know that she said that.
She said they don't target civilians.
I said
I let you filibuster for several minutes without interrupting. I just get a couple of words out, and then we'll go back and forth. The resistance is not above killing civilians to show larger points of warfare. And so to suggest somehow that is why certain places haven't been targeted. The reason certain places haven't been targeted is because they do not want the war to get hotter, because they don't have an air force, right? Or they don't have a dome system which will stop the destruction that can be unleashed. As I stated, I don't think that Israel can win a ground war either in Iran or in Lebanon, to be honest. I think what's happening now in terms of a ground war will be something that will, again, damage the infrastructure of Hezbollah, but will also do great damage to the Israeli tanks and machinery and army. But to me, I think it is cheerleading to suggest that the resistance has not been weakened when the weaponry, the infrastructure, the command structure has been destroyed, or if not killed outright in a lot of places. That is a weakening of your base of support. That is a weakening of your troop levels. That is a weakening of your generals, of your people who actually do the implementing of plans and strategies. It is no, Cabral claim no easy victories. It is not something that says that just because something is weakened that it is bad, but it is also a way of suggesting that when something is weakened, that they have taken major damage, with which Israel has lost. People have left Israel. The economy is messed up, but the army, the military of Israel is intact for the most part. They may have lost soldiers, but those numbers do not equal what's been happening to either Hezbollah or Hamas. And so, again, I think a good understanding about what was taking place does not mean the resistance is dead, or that the resistance will not at some point recover from this. I don't think the resistance can be destroyed. But has this been a time period of great victory for the resistance? I would argue not.
I think, for me, I wonder what the utility of this is. Because for me,
the discussion, to be clear, what do you mean the utility?
Yeah, like what is the utility of insisting that the resistance is weakened? Like,
it's a sober analysis of what's taking place. Why would I not have a discussion about whether or not the resistance is doing well, whether or not the resistance is losing? Who would not have that discussion in any reasonable way in which you're talking about what's happening in the world? You would definitely have a discussion around whether or not you think somebody is, quote unquote, winning, whether they're winning a propaganda war, whether or not they're losing a propaganda war, whether or not part of what's happened in the resistance has worked, as in the level of Palestinian support for Palestinians all across the world has reached new heights. But that still doesn't mean that you don't also talk about, at least in my opinion, what may be happening that may not be going your way in terms of a resistance movement. Everything is not about what positively is happening for the resistance. Just like everything in our struggle should not be discussed in sort of positive tones, or like as if wrong does not get done, or we don't take losses, or we don't make errors. I think those kind of things lead to bad analysis, or lead to no analysis at all around your conditions, which don't allow you then to strategically make the necessary changes to make sure that the next time something does happen, that you can't now correct those things and make sure they don't happen in that same way again. But I think analyzing what the resistance is doing is not only is it part of what we should be doing, it's part of like what's happening in the world.
Can I just say, at least from, because I don't disagree. I think a lot of it is trying to have that sober analysis. The reason why I push back is because I am curious about the use of terminology. Even when you all were speaking about Tanashi Coates yesterday, and I was saying, I think it's really interesting that he would say apartheid but not settler colonialism, right? He would say, he would use specific, like he wouldn't say Zionism, right? So when you say weaken, that struck me in terms of, well, yeah, I'm not above a sober analysis, and I have been, I think. I don't think that I have been cautiously optimistic or like raving about the resistance in any kind of way, because I really don't do any real conversations around what's happening outside of that, the interviews that I have with Laith, but just an observation and monitoring how they have moved strategically before and after October 7th. That is what I was raising. I'm not saying that they are above any of that, right? But also, what is a civilian in Israel, right? So there's that too. But also, if this were the case, if that was, because I do think that's not something that we're not seeing. People are like, well, nobody's dead. And so then what does that mean? Like, is that what the expectation from the resistance, that if this is how Israel is striking, that this is how the resistance is going to strike, if we have not seen that as a pattern in these last 11 months? And when you say performative, for me, it seems more strategic. We've always assessed that they do not want a wider regional war. Nobody wants a wider regional war. So they are being very careful and strategic, I think, in terms of what they're doing and how they're doing it and how it's playing out. But the resistance is a multi-front thing. So to say weaken, okay, if Hezbollah is weakened, is that the same for the Houthis? Is that the same for the Iraqi resistance? Is that the same for what's happening? So even when you say Hamas infrastructure, and we're seeing, like, I'm just curious about what does it mean to be weakened to a people who are going to continue to get up? Like, yes, a hit is a hit. They've surely taken hits, but does that mean the resistance is now weakened from it? And so
I'm not sure I understand your difference in terminology of what that is supposed to mean. Weaken means that you're not as strong as you once were when it all began. Hamas is not as strong as it once was from October 7th on. Hezbollah is not as strong as it once was in the last 3 months. So to me, it's very
Israel, by the way.
Yeah,
right.
But Israel has an intact military, which is still pounding both Hezbollah and Hamas and probably will launch missiles towards Iran, which will cause damage in infrastructure. And again, I don't disagree with you around strategic, right? I think, no, they do not want a wider war for the reasons which you and I have both mentioned. Iran does not want a wider war because it will damage infrastructure in Iran and cause mass casualties and death. But that will also weaken the regime to have that done. And they know it will weaken them. And so therefore, they're trying to respond in a careful, calibrated way. I use the word performative. You can say careful and calibrated. It's meant not to cause damage, because if damage is caused, then in terms of the propaganda mode or what Israel and or the United States will do together will cause mass damage and casualties because they have the weaponry to do so. The very fact that they do, and they have, and Iran knows that, means that Iran is being careful with its responses, and they should be careful with their responses. But all of that to say is the resistance is stronger than it was. And I think I've made this point prior. 10 years ago, 15 years ago, they didn't have this kind of resistance. So Iran has carefully helped put together militias, state actors, so that they can fight ongoing wars against imperialism in their region. It does not mean, however, that if you say from 10 years ago, are they stronger than they were? Yes. Are they as strong as they were a year ago? No. And I don't see that as a way of, are you trying to cut me off, mother? I don't think.
I was going to stick a pin in this.
I just think it's a sober analysis of what is taking place, and there's no reason not to say it, as well as to say that the resistance is still resisting.
Yeah.
So I will say really quickly that was my point. You could have said all of that about Iran being careful and strategic, but you didn't. What you said first.
I also said performative. I said all of that plus performative, and I stick by the word performative. It's meant to show something, but not to cause certain damage. It's performative. All right. It could also be called strategic if you want, but I also think it's performative.
All right. We see you standing on business there. We have
say something real quick. Can I say something?
Standing on something.
I think there's also utility in cheerleading, by the way, because it helps to reframe this narrative of Hezbollah and Hamas as terrorist groups and terrorist organizations. And the fact that Israel has been so deeply, I'd say, weakened politically on the global stage, the fact that there are arrest warrants out for Benjamin Netanyahu. And again, he don't have to submit to them joints. No one may have to turn him over. But the fact that there have been imports limited to Israel, the blockade, Israel has indeed been weakened. And I think that cheerleading for those organizations, I think that has a purpose. And I do think it is strategic because it helps to reframe who are the good guys and who are the bad guys, right? And I think that the global uprising basically to support Palestinians is also part of the resistance, maybe not formally, but it serves a purpose. So I think it's okay to cheerlead if that's what you can do.
I don't disagree with that analysis at all. And I don't disagree with an analysis that talks about how Israel is also weakened. Those are not things that I'm taking off the table in terms of conversation. I agree with both of those statements. I agree with what you just said completely.
Right. Also, it's a battle of ideas, right? So we just have to keep that in mind. It's not like a policing of language, but it is a battle of ideas, and words are used specifically for specific reasons. Like there is an intent in terms of how people are trying to come across and what messages they're trying to come across. So it's not a bad thing to struggle around the ideas. Mm-hmm. I think it's good. It sharpens us.
Mm-hmm. I concur.
Yes, there it is. And Ricky's words phrasing. All right. Well, we're going to take a quick break. And we're going to come back. We got a guest coming up right here on the Remix Morning Show. Let's go.
Remix.
Remix on the remix.
I'm only coming. I'm only coming out to play. Nothing more that I hate in this life. The wrong impression, I only have one to make. You can open your palm, waiting to get the break. The cards will fall where they may. And what about me? I believe in fate. They wanna know where I'll be in 5. But what about today? What about tonight? Only one at a time. So precious. It's yours.
All right, let me take you to a time and place back to 1983. Artist named Shannon, off her album, self-titled Shannon. Let the music play. Mixed with a little bit of 2016. Anderson .Paak off his album Malibu. Name of the song is Am I Wrong? Make sure y'all hit that like button, subscribe if you're new to the channel. Also go to patreon.com, become a member over there, and get footage that's rare. And also donate, blkliberationmedia.org. All right, with that said, let's get right back to it. We got a guest in the building, so let's get it. Right here on the Remix Morning Show. Let's go.
Woo! If you're going to do a one-hit wonder, be that one-hit wonder. God damn, Shannon, let the music play a whole jam.
Mhm.
Yes.
What we got?
I
In
did not
the,
know that was a black woman. So there you go.
Ricky said I was going to come on the screen with pom-poms, but I decided.
y'all are petty.
Gemini and Leo Brooklynites.
Mhm.
What are you
We
doing?
would have done this for hours. 'Cause-
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I can see. Y'all need to take this to Patreon. All right. So, yeah, let me get off screen so y'all can bring forth our
Mhm. Y'all, somebody gonna do the introduction.
Who invited the guest?
Well, don't we have to do a thing? Isn't there like
do your
a-
thing,
there's
Doc.
Yay, welcome everybody. Welcome back. Cause y'all, I don't know what y'all what are you doing over there? Come on.
Erica's fault. She's busy staring at herself or something. I'm like, what's happening with her?
What are you doing over there?
Oh, my bad. Welcome back, everybody. Remix Morning Show. We're here with a special guest. I'm going to turn it over to Jackie Lukman and Erica Keynes to introduce our guests.
Yes. Hopefully my computer isn't freezing because I think that's what's going on. Peace, everyone. We are here with Jemima Pierre, who is the co-coordinator of the Haiti Americas team of the Black Alliance for Peace. And we are, I put a link in the chat. Most recently this week, the Black Alliance for Peace released a statement about the UN and the discussion around the UN Security Council and Haiti. So we wanted to have a more deeper discussion with Jemima about currently what's happening in Haiti, the UN Security Council vote, and this sort of the way that the left seems to disregard or neglect the issues of Haiti overall. So Jemima, can you talk a little bit about the piece and why the Haiti Americas team thought it was really important to write the statement, and in addition, send letters to embassies?
Yes. Good morning, everyone. Thanks so much for having me. Glad to be on the morning show and the Remix Morning Show. I'm glad we're covering this only because there's been complete silence from the left, the imperial left. I guess the left within the imperial world, right? About Haiti. And there's been a complete way that Haiti does not even figure into any conversation, any discussion about imperialism, about invasion and occupation, especially the past year and a half or so. The other thing is, I know Haiti was in the news very recently about Donald Trump's words that Haitians were eating pets and JD Vance. And I know that took up a lot of attention in the news and so on. And I wanted to start out by saying that it's actually more racist to ignore the fact that Haitians are being completely invaded and occupied right now by foreign powers. It's more racist to think that these Black people cannot rule themselves, and so that white supremacy can continually bring in other Black soldiers from all over from Africa to come and control them and put them in their place so that the U.S. can have its military base and military power in the region. And so I think, I wanted to shift that discussion, really thinking about, people are saying it's a Donald Trump thing as much as to think about it's a white supremacist thing, the way that Haiti has been treated the past 200 years. So I wanted to start with that. The other thing is we put out the statement because the UN was actually having a vote on Haiti on Monday, September 30th, to basically think about renewing the so-called security mission that they approved October last year. The security mission is an interesting thing because it's the U.S., for example, for the past 2.5 years has been trying to get a UN force, so-called peacekeeping force, back into Haiti, at first to protect its puppet government of Ariel Henry, which was then removed. And I wanted to just quickly say that the resolution for the UN occupation that's starting, or that began last year, was written by Mexico, and AMLO, everybody's favorite leftist, was co-written by Mexico and the US to basically bring a foreign military force into Haiti over supposedly gangs, right? And this was written in 2022. Russia and China kept vetoing it because they said, Haiti had 14 years of a large 12,000 soldier military force from 2004 to 2017 in Haiti. And all it did was bring misery and violence and cholera and so on. And so Russia and China kept vetoing this. And so the workaround that the US came up with was the MSS, the Multinational Security Mission, where it actually put together a group of mercenaries, that's what we call them, from all over the world, but in particular from Africa, in the Caribbean. So it's a bunch of blackface mercenaries. So it's bringing Black soldiers from Kenya. And then it said that Kenya, the world's greatest stooge, William Ruto, the president of Kenya, basically said that he would lead it because the US promised them a state visit and $600 million. And so he got his state visit back in May, and immediately sent a group of Kenyan soldiers who've been sitting around in a tent in Haiti since June. And then, so the U.S. was able to go around not having a multinational, a UN peacekeeping mission but also by getting the UN, this is unusual, getting the UN to sign off on a non-UN mission, right? And basically UN, the UN sponsored the mission, but they're not paying for it. But it also means that there's no recourse. So if the Kenyan soldiers do something to Haitians, kill Haitians, rape Haitians, there is no recourse for Haitians. And they signed on this immunity pact as well. And the US has to pay for all these soldiers and military for coming in. And so it took about almost a year for them to bring the soldiers in. They didn't come in, they're called on the police, but they didn't come in till late June. And then they're sitting there, and then the UN, when they agreed to this non-UN multinational mission, that they had to renew it in October. And so then they were able to actually get the UN to renew it, all 15 members, including some little country in Eastern Europe, Slovenia, and signing a unanimous thing to basically send this military force of all these soldiers to Haiti in the middle of a genocide where you have the Zionist monsters bombing and killing Palestinians and Lebanese. Haiti is the country that gets foreign invasion and occupation in the name of protecting international security. I want us to really think about what that means, right? But the fact that the entire world did not even question, the entire UN Security Council, which has 15 members and 5 permanent members, including Russia and China, did not even question this idea that you have a sovereign state where you can send foreign soldiers from everywhere and no one thinks that's a problem over the idea of gangs when you have Mexican cartels taking over cities in Mexico, where you have the so-called, the gang violence in Ecuador. Haiti is the only country where there's no civil war, where there's no problem. It's not causing the international community any problems, but it gets a foreign invasion. And so we wanted to bring that up because we wanted to stop that vote. The vote went ahead anyways. We wrote the statement, but we also wrote a letter to the regional leaders because they don't realize that this whole thing of regime change and ongoing occupation of Haiti is the laboratory, is the model for what will happen to them. And people don't see the Haitian struggle as an anti-colonial struggle. And I'm starting to, and I think part of it has to do with a particular kind of racism of how to deal with this Black nation. And so I'm thankful that you all are wanting to bring this issue out, but I do think it's so important that an invasion is happening under our noses and no one is saying anything about it. And I woke up this morning to the news that Guinea, the country of Guinea, is sending 700 soldiers to Haiti in the next few weeks. And so where is the outrage from Black people? Where is the outrage from the anti-imperialists? How is this happening under our noses? And the region should actually be concerned, considering the reason the U.S. wants these foreigners in Haiti is because they want to establish a permanent military base in Haiti to control the region. And so these regional people, these leaders don't see it this way. They're going to pay the price further on. We're going to pay the price first, but it's all going to come back to bite all of them in the region.
So, Dr. Pierre, I have to ask, this project that the U.S. spearheaded, sending Kenya into Haiti, wasn't quote unquote successful, right? The U.S. is not happy with the Kenyan police and what they're supposed to be doing in Haiti, and that's confusing to me, because what was the success supposed to be? With the Kenyan police in Haiti, what were the metrics? What were they supposed to go in there and do that they allegedly haven't done well enough that now they're pushing for a full invasion? Just so people are clear with what was supposed to happen with the Kenyan police in Haiti.
Well, that was the issue to begin with. There were no metrics. There was it was the most ill-defined mission in the history of the UN, and people kept complaining. It's like, why are we sending soldiers there? There's no mission. And part of it, we also know, the US, doesn't have enough money to send. So they wanted it. And I want to say these UN peacekeeping missions they do two things. It's a cheap way for the U.S. to get its foreign policy objectives. If they had gotten the UN peacekeeping mission, the UN would have been paying for the soldiers. And not only that, these countries send soldiers because then they get free. They get a huge salary. So, for example, the Kenyans are getting like thousands of dollars a month. The Haitians get $250. The Haitian police gets $250 a month. The Kenyans get $2,500 a month, right, for sitting in a tent. Not only that, it also becomes like a money grab for corporations, right? So, for example, the U.S. hired a company out of Georgia, the country of Georgia, not the state of Georgia, to provide food for the Kenyans. So there are all these people from Georgia, these white folks from Georgia's cooking in the tents for the Kenyans. So there was no mission, and there was no mission except for this thing about fighting gangs. And let me say also, this fighting gangs mantra, you can go back to every single UN resolution since the US, France, and Canada did the coup d'etat that removed our elected president in 2004, and Haiti has been under occupation since then. Every single UN resolution has the thing in there that we need to stop gangs, as if gangs is like something that's endemic to Haiti or that's in our blood, right? And mind you, there are more gangs in Chicago than there are in Haiti. So, we can start, or LA than there are in Haiti, right? But so they use that all the time. So this mission there was no mission. And everybody kept saying, what are they supposed to do? Which is why they're sitting in a tent eating. And CNN did a puff piece about the Georgian soldiers cooking food for the Haitians. And you have them sitting in a tent doing that. And every once in a while they'll go on patrols, but they're hiding behind the Haitian police, right? And what people don't realize is that what the US wants is warm bodies under the pretext of a UN mission to hold the space as they build out this big base that they're building on Haiti, as they've destroyed 500 houses so far around the airport to create a security zone that nobody's talking about. People are being kicked out of their houses. They say they're being compensated, but they destroyed 500 houses around the airport. This is a small mission for gangs in the Port-au-Prince region. The gangs, so-called gangs, are in Port-au-Prince and some of the outlying areas, but this is a country of 12 to 14 million people. Port-au-Prince is not the majority of Haiti. But so the US is using the bodies as warm bodies to hold on, to build out this base, because it's going to take over that base. And that's what we need to think about. And the fact that none of these countries, including Russia and China, actually, you would think it would be for their interests to actually not allow a US presence there. And because it impacts, Chinese, China cares about its economic relationships. It impacts their relationships in the region, but they all let it go because they've all bought into the racist manufacturing of consent by the Western media over the past 200 years, that Haitians are these dumb Black people who cannot control and rule themselves.
You mentioned early in your discussion about the left basically treating Haiti as a non-issue. So in addition to, or maybe not in addition to, why don't you say what you think is the main reasons for that? I was going to say in addition to racism, but that may be the reason for it, right? So why do you think that is? Like, Venezuela gets support from the left here. Cuba obviously has support. Obviously, these are places where you have radical governments, but still, Haiti has been a so-called a hot zone for imperialism for not even decades, centuries. So what do you think leads to the lack thereof of true quote unquote interest or lifting up Haiti as a site of struggle?
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think of something besides racism. But
if that's it, that's okay. You can just expound on that.
I do think there's something deeply racist about the inability to understand what Haiti stands for and to give it solidarity. I think, and this racism comes from the entire region. And I'd like to point people to, for example, Haiti was not a member of CARICOM. CARICOM is a Caribbean community. CARICOM has just celebrated its 50th anniversary, I think, last year. And Haiti was not a member of CARICOM until early 2003 or so, because a lot of the members didn't want to have anything to do with Haiti. They bought into the stereotype of a place of voodoo and backwards people. And one CARICOM member I remember is somewhere in the records basically saying, well, why would we have to, this is going to cost us so much because we have to translate our documents into this language only they speak. So there's this thing about voodoo, the religion. There's this thing about the language we speak. There's also an embarrassment, I think, that these bourgeois Negroes have, especially in the Caribbean, from the revolution, right? So you have Martinique and Guadeloupe, who are effective colonies of France, still looking down, people in there still looking down on Haiti for having won this revolution. And people saying, well, see, good thing we didn't go the way of Haiti, because look at Haiti now, right? As opposed to seeing that Haiti is the longest neo-colonial experiment in the modern world because it dared win. So I think racism is part of that. The other part of it is that the US has effectively helped kill the left. And so unlike Venezuela, right, and Nicaragua and Cuba, there is a leftist movement, and it was killed in the 40s. The U.S. supported the brutal Duvalier dictatorship because it was anti-communist, right? Mm-hmm. And a lot of the Haitian left, right? And the rising mass movement that came with Aristide in the late 80s and early 90s was completely snuffed out with the 2 coups d'etats that the U.S. Pushed against them, and where they killed so many Aristide supporters. And Aristide, basically, when he came back in '94, had to, institute some neoliberal reforms, because that's what Clinton, the U.S. took out Aristide in '91, brought him back Clinton brought him back in '94 under the condition that he accepts some of the neoliberal changes. And he dragged his feet, but he did, which also then turned a lot of the left against him in the country. By 2004, when the U.S. brings the U.S. Marines and basically removes them from power and basically kill a lot of his supporters and imprison a lot of supporters, that movement, that radical grassroots movement, was effectively dead. The Lavalas movement of Aristide that we have today is not the same Lavalas movement that we had that brought the masses. Lavalas means an avalanche, right? I'm thinking about Alex the flood. So, you're thinking about something similar, right? This avalanche coming down, and that has been basically snuffed out. And so people don't see. So you see Venezuela, the radical movement is a state project. Cuba, the radical movement is a state project. Nicaragua, the radical movement is a state project. In Haiti, it is not, because it's been snuffed out. And I think barring an armed struggle by the Haitians, we're not going to get rid of these imperialists. And I have to be blunt about that, right? And that's that. But I do think there's racism, but also people don't see it as a leftist movement, an anti-colonial movement. And so it's a combination of these things. It's easy to support Nicaragua and Cuba because they're socialist states. But in Haiti, you can't do that, because what we have right now is a bunch of puppets that the U.S. put in a whole government sitting in a hotel room in Jamaica and told us we had a presidential council and a prime minister, who then go to the UN and ask for foreign invasion. Right. And then the U.S. can turn around and say, oh, well, the Haitian government is asking for invasion, even though we have no elected officials in Haiti.
Right. And that seemed to have been the case with China, Russia, with CELAC. They've all kind of pointed to, well, this is something that the government of Haiti is asking for, with no context or anything. And I deeply, deeply, deeply appreciate that you raised that contradiction, because what people, and I would say Nicaragua does not get, we fight to get Caribbean in these spaces, to get Nicaragua in these spaces, to get Haiti in these spaces, because there is such a deep investment, and it needs to be, I think it's a valid one, in the maintaining of the socialist states of Cuba and Venezuela, because if we were to lose that, it would be much more difficult for us to raise the issues around Haiti, around all these other states. So there is an investment in that, but because they don't see or understand or know the history of Haiti, right, in terms of Haiti having a left. There was somebody in the chat that said, oh, because Haitians are capitalists. Oh, all the Haitians? All the Haitians are capitalists? The entire, So I think that just that understanding that's how they view the Caribbean in total. We're not even having an understanding of the history of communist movements that really crafted communism here for Africans here. The back and forth of those movements and internationalism. So I do think that's really, really, really important in terms of how we are understanding this, because yes, the racism is foundational, but understanding that Haiti is like a proxy, or unnecessarily the space where Haiti is. If they were, the reason why they want to occupy Haiti is because they want to chip away at Cuba. They want to chip away at Venezuela. Right? And for me, it's like, why is the left really talking about that aspect of it? Because that's where you can draw in for the support of Haiti.
Definitely. And I have to say, I have to say there's three things. The three countries that have actually stood up for Haiti has been Venezuela, Cuba, and Nicaragua. And so I have to say they're the ones that are saying no. I mean, Maduro was so adamant, like, this is ridiculous. Why are we having an invasion of this country? When the truth is, look, if CELAC had come together and said, look, we can find a way, for these armed groups. By the way, in the armed groups, you notice every time there's a UN Security Council meeting on Haiti, the media, oh my God, Haiti is the gang violence is the UN, numbers are this. And I don't trust the UN numbers. I don't trust these nothing that they put out. But I want to say just quickly, I think you're right. I think people don't know the history of Haiti, but they don't care to know, right? But the other thing is what's important for us to realize is, like, Haiti is located geographically in the Windward Passage. So if you look at a map between Haiti and Cuba, it's a perfect location for U.S. military planes to go through, get to the Panama Canal, and get to Asia. Because the plan is for war with China. The U.S. needs that base there. The U.S. has always wanted a base at the northern part of Haiti. In fact, in the late 1800s, it sent Frederick Douglass to negotiate for a base in Mole St. Nicolas in northern Haiti. And that the reason you have Guantanamo Bay is because the Haitians refused to allow the base, right? And so now you have a base happening, right? And nobody's saying anything, right? Right about it. And so I think you're absolutely right, Erica. We do need to think about this. We need to understand why, what's happening with the left? Why is it that Mexico co-wrote this resolution to bring military invasion? This is AMLO that everybody's celebrating. Why is it that Ecuador, of all people, Ecuador, the land of gangs, gets to write a resolution for foreign invasion over gangs in Haiti? The other thing is, I want to also remind everybody that Haiti is under occupation. It's been under occupation since 2004. And so what the world needs to do is actually fight to end this colonial occupation. This is an anti-colonial struggle that is similar to, the occupation began at the same time that the U.S. attacked Iraq, Afghanistan. Why are we not linking all of these struggles together? Why are we not linking the struggle against colonialism with what's happening in Haiti? So I think that's important. I think the racism is important. Also, that's the point. The other point I wanted to make is that the U.S. has been having a propaganda war against Haiti since 1700s, since the revolution. And I wrote a piece recently in Black Agenda Report about this long history. Look, in the 1790s, they're talking about Haitian cannibals. The New York Times in 1921 had a headline said, Haitians ate a Marine, a U.S. Marine, right? And so if you go through the history of the manufacturing of consent for Haiti as a band of savages since 1791, when the revolution started, it is so easy to fall into that, right? So by the time you get to, remember, they were calling us cannibals in the spring, right? The barbecue eating people, they're saying the name barbecue comes from him eating people. So there's a long history of that. So it's, so I can be upset at our people, our Black brothers and sisters in the Caribbean, but I can also understand how mainstream media, how Western racist media works. And I can also know that the Western capture of all media, all propaganda outlets, the fact that if you go to Africa, one country in Africa, you open a newspaper, most of the stories are sourced from BBC, CNN, Reuters, and Voice of America, then you can understand why people in Kenya or people in Guinea don't know what's going on in Haiti and think it's a great thing that the U.S. is asking their people to be stooges, in their space to control Haitians. This is a colonial project. Remember, the British used to bring Caribbean soldiers to fight Africans in West Africa as they colonized them. This is the same thing happening again. This empire using those from their imperial places to put down these people. And I wanted to end, just this set of comments by saying that I also don't want to present Haitians as victims. It is precisely because Haitians have always fought back, continue to fight back, that the U.S. feels like it needs to beat us down and it needs to have control. And so that's the other thing I want us to remember, that they don't know how to deal with this. You have places like Jamaica where they've completely lost access to the beach because their land is owned everywhere. The U.S. is trying to do the same thing to Haiti, where it's trying to change the constitution to open up land ownership to foreigners in a way that it changed the constitution that removed the clause that said no white man should own land in Haiti. 1915, the U.S. rewrote Haiti's constitution. FDR rewrote Haiti's constitution to open that up. And they're trying to do the same thing here. And so everyone in the region should actually be afraid that the U.S. has so much control, so much power over that region, and that will come back to them.
Well, thank you so much, Shamima, for coming through this morning. Kamal, did you have one last thing that you wanted to say? You look a little disappointed.
You were saying
so very disappointed.
I had 12 more questions or whatever.
That was the most disappointed look.
Yeah,
I tried not to. I was like, wait a minute, we can't go. We can go a little longer. We'll go a little longer. Okay. So this is a little veered off what you the part about U.S. imperialism, but obviously connected to it. So what do you think is happening with currently? Is there? I mean, a few years ago there were massive labor strikes happening across the country. And I know you talked about the left being destroyed and or changed. I know there's breakaway parties from Lavalas, some socialist parties that developed. Where do you think the sort of the spirit of resistance is going to come from on the ground in Haiti this time around? Do you think it's going to be labor? Is it going to be grassroots organizing? Is it going to be, I know you can't predict the future per se, but based on your own connections, where do you see sort of the formulation of resistance coming from?
I think it's going to come from the same places that it came from when the first coup d'état against Aristide. The communities the impoverished communities that are in the young people that are living in these impoverished places in the capital city. And people describe them as favelas because they're tightly packed. The bunch of young impoverished people. The fear for me is, the object is to get rid of the last of the radical movements in Haiti. There's a very robust agrarian, rural movement of peasants and farmers that actually has a lot of help from outside NGOs, leftist NGOs and so on. But I think what's going to happen with Haiti, they're going to basically start killing young people and say they're gangs. And that's what we should worry about. And so the resistance is going to come from these urban areas, these urban enclaves of poor young men and women. And the Kenyans, the Guineans, the US, like the Minister soldiers, the UN occupiers did before and between 2004 and 2017, they're going to be like, oh, these are all gangs and shoot them down. And so that's what we have to look to, because everybody already thinks every young man in Haiti is a gang member, and as they rise up and protest, they're going to get shot down. And I wanted to say, the whole gang issue was not an issue. You notice there was no discussion about gangs 2 years ago in the media about Haiti. There were all these protests where the IMF forced the installed government to remove fuel subsidies in Haiti that overnight raised prices by 50%. And this is in 2020. The IMF. And so people were in the streets. There were always people in the streets. And this is the first time in like a year and a half that you don't have people in the streets. And when people were in the streets in 2018, 2017, 2019, 2020, the puppet government would say, oh, these are just gangs. It's the gangs that are fueling these protests. And so we have to actually, and that's why the US wanted to have a military force to use the term gang. And so the media shifted to gangs, but they never covered the mass protests, the hundreds of thousands of people in the streets every week. There was a time there was 8 weeks straight of protests against this installed Prime Minister Ariel Henry from 2021 to when he was deposed this past spring. We don't get any coverage of the protests. We get coverage of gangs. And so we have to keep in mind when the protests do start, because when the violence of these foreign soldiers who don't speak our language, by the way, they don't, Guinea, Kenya speaks English. They don't speak, even French. And most Haitians don't speak French. They speak Creole. So you have all these soldiers that don't speak our language, that don't know anything, are coming in, and they have immunity, which means that they can kill anyone and they won't get processed in Haiti, right? And so keep in mind, that's where the protests are going to come from. They're going to kill them and say that they're gang members, and they're going to establish their presence. And that's why I say nothing short of an armed resistance by Haitians will free us at this point.
Deeply, deeply appreciate that. I was thinking about Plan Colombia. Even earlier when you talked about the gangs, in LA and Chicago, and it's one of the points that we always make at the Haiti Americas team is that the Global Fragilities Act that uses Haiti as a laboratory to extend into West Africa, like Guinea, like Ghana, is comparable to the Biden Safe for America Act, where the whole idea is to contain fragile states with occupation, more policing, etc. So I think when you say that in order for people to start getting more involved and understanding what's happening in Haiti, it's very, very important that we start to make these connections amongst the diaspora, the African diaspora, that it's not just happening in Haiti, but what we're seeing happening in Haiti is also being replicated in West Africa, in LA, in Chicago, in Baltimore, because throughout the Americas with the Organization of American States and the power of the core group that they have to influence elections and things like that. So thank you so much, Jemima.
I wanted to quickly say, Erica, thank you for bringing up Global Fragilities Act. So if people don't care about Haiti but are excited about what's happening in West Africa with the alliance of Burkina Faso, Mali, just know that the Global Fragilities Act names a number of areas that they're going to focus on. It's Haiti, Libya, the western coastal African states. They're going after West Africa. And which is why they're going so hard against African Stream, but they're going after West Africa. And when I say Haiti's a laboratory for U.S. imperialism, I'm right about that. In the Global Fragilities Act, and one more thing I know is the NGOs. The U.S. has if you go online, they removed the document, but we published it in package in the report. The U.S. they have a 10-year plan for stabilizing Haiti. They wrote that stuff out. And part of that plan includes funding 250 NGOs to get their policy. So you get these NGOs, the first thing these NGO people are. So that's how you snuff out radicalism. You take all these young people who are protesting against the government, protesting, doing all this stuff. And all of a sudden they get this NGO money. And then they become bureaucrats who are happy to fly and sit at the table in Paris and New York, and speak French and English, right? Because that's what's happening to a whole bunch of protesters, that leaders of the protests from 2016, 2017, they're all like, flying to Paris now and flying to New York because they got that NGO money. So the U.S. knows exactly the ideological work of NGOs. The Haiti is known as the Republic of NGOs with 10,000 NGOs. And so if anyone wants to be free, you don't want any international NGO in your country, because the Global Fragility Act is a combination of using the USAID, the Department of Defense, and the Department of State. And so we have to know this model being played out in Haiti that is going to be replicated. Erica, thank you for reminding me. Replicated here, but they're going after West Africa. And if we want to support West Africa and keep that revolution that we see happening there, we need to see what's been happening in Haiti and make sure that we can nip it in the bud before it gets bigger. And that starts with Haiti, as everything starts with Haiti.
That's right. And see, everything is connected. Thank you so much, Jamila. Good God. I don't know about y'all, but this week has been kind of crappy emotionally for me because of everything that's going on. And this just does not add to it, but it just makes me angrier, I think, at the way that we are now. It's not even subtle indoctrination with the censoring of African Stream. Like, if we saw that and we didn't understand why that was done, this conversation, I think, made that clear. This was not just some random thing that Anthony Blinken woke up one day and decided, I'm going to say this horrible lie about African Stream, this obscure little outlet that's out there on socials that I don't even watch. That man has never seen African Stream. He doesn't know what's on it. It doesn't matter. It is a news outlet that is grassroots, that comes from the people, and it is broadcast to us here in this part of the diaspora. We're not supposed to have connections with our people throughout this diaspora. And
unless they're soldiers coming in.
Exactly. And we sure as hell are not supposed to have connections with Haitians. Never, ever. So that's why we do this.
Right. Thanks so much for having me, y'all.
Appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank y'all. Excellent segment. Thank y'all for coming. We had over 400 people listening. Lots of folks voicing their opinions in the chat. So thank y'all so much for coming and supporting.
Yeah. Riled up my music.
I think one of the other things that's important that I didn't want to keep Jamila extended. But when we talk about NGOs and nonprofits are very similar in that vein. We can look at nonprofits as the domestic version of NGOs. But primarily when we talk about them, there's not a lot of discussion about how they maneuver, especially in terms of the youth, like the nonprofits and NGOs programs in HBCUs. Last year, Samantha Masters and Barbara Lee was running a program with the USAID at Howard. Earlier this year, BAP Mid-Atlantic was at Howard to hear a presentation from the State Department and Howard students from the continent on the Global Fragilities Act. And they were selling it. And a lot of what they were saying, to Jemima's point, was that if you look at the mapping of where they're putting the GFA, where they're setting up and aligning nonprofits, it is surrounding Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger. So they are intentionally looking to close in because that is the fragile states. They're not concerned about necessarily Guinea or Ghana or whatever in terms of fragility, but they are setting up and aligning nonprofits around that area so they can close it in. And then putting it in Libya, it is clear that they're going after the Sahel directly because we've seen that play out in 2011. So
I think she hit the nail on the head too, like the domestically and internationally, as you were saying, because the nonprofit industrial complex, it's not like they even tell you what to do anymore. They don't have to half the time. So for folks who think they're political and that they're organizers and then they throw money in the middle, half the time they don't tell you, they don't give you like, don't say this or don't say that. They know that once that money is there, that money is going to be used for travel, for setting up websites, for creating programs. And then after that, folks are going to start competing with each other for the money. And so now everybody's competing with each other, and the ideas of a radical revolution leave the door because now you're trying to keep your small programs open. You're trying to keep the people that you have employed going. You're trying to talk to these other funders who you need more money to keep everything going. And that naturally starts to curve people's language, positions, positionality. And so again, it's not even as straightforward a lot of times as folks saying. Sometimes it is a straightforward, right? Because sometimes people are getting money directly from the CIA or directly from state-sponsored programs. But it doesn't even have to be that straightforward anymore. All they have to do is sort of throw that money in and have people kind of like their best bourgeois interest in them comes out. And they start trying to show that that's who they are, as opposed to the radicals and revolutionaries that they said they were when they started receiving the money in the first place.
Yeah, and we see that we should have already seen that here with the picking off of radical movements just since 2020, just since the uprising against racist police terrorism in this country. We've seen the NGOs co-opt and take over whole local movements, how the state has moved in with these NGOs in certain states. And then, the people who were at the forefront of some of the state actions, now they're part of these, NGO organizations that they claim now they're advancing the work, and they don't understand the nature of these NGOs. And somebody in the chat asked a good question, like, why do we let them indoctrinate us so that we don't know that these NGOs are not our friends? And I don't think it's a matter of us letting them indoctrinate us. The indoctrination in this country is complete. It is an entire system unto itself, almost the propaganda arm of this empire. It affects us from cradle to grave. When babies are born in this country, they know what Coca-Cola is before they know anything else, because the indoctrination, the propaganda, the marketing, it is pervasive. It is not just television commercials. It's not just in every movie we watch on the big screen and on television. It is not just all the books that are published. It is not just, I think it's 2 entities now that own every media outlet in this country, every single one, print, digital, television, cable, all of them owned by a handful of corporations that all have the same political aspirations. It's not just that. It's also the education system that is the biggest tool of propaganda in this country. We don't learn about the actual history of this country, and we don't learn anything about other countries other than what this government wants us to know. And that is that other countries, unless they are capitalist and support the United States, they are enemies of the US. Socialism evil, communism evil. Everyone who lives in socialist and communist countries, all evil, godless, heathens. They do voodoo, they eat babies. That is the intellectual, I guess, reality of being born in this country. You are indoctrinated from the day you open your eyes. when you're born until the day you close them and you die. And radical organizations exist outside of that indoctrination because we know we have to break people out of that indoctrination. And that is why we get targeted all the time. So it's not a matter of us letting them indoctrinate. Most people do not understand that when they're watching TV, when they're reading magazines, when they're reading newspaper, they're being indoctrinated because none of that is independent.
No, completely agree.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't have much to follow.
Yeah.
I do, but someone was asking like, how do you tap in with Black Alliance for Peace? So I do want to name, like, in terms of Haiti, no chauvinism, obviously, but in the last 3 years that we have been a team, we have raised the issue of the core group. They made that front and center. We have talked about the Organization of American States. We have really put the work into developing the PE so that people can begin to understand what is happening in Haiti more concretely, even with the comparisons of Haiti and Palestine, that colonial aspect, even understanding Haiti as colonial, right? Because people just get stuck at the first Black free and just don't discuss the other the 100 years after that. Like, there was an occupation, there's been coups, just stop it, at the revolution. And I think it's really, really important that the PE that we have done has really amplified. But I want to say that is just a step, right? Because I do think there's valid criticisms to some extent about how the left is reacting to certain nations. But even when I said we are still having to fight for Nicaragua for the same reasons, if you could say that there's thousands of NGOs in Haiti, there were thousands in Nicaragua and there was no law around it. Anybody could just come into Nicaragua and start up a nonprofit, start up an NGO. And then when we seen in 2017 what that resulted in the attempts to overthrow the nation, then now there's laws on the books about NGOs. Now they've tightened things up, and through those laws, they're attempting to, attack Nicaragua. But a lot of these nations that we have to fight for, those fights get built. Like, even when I talk about Cuba, 30 years ago was not this. People were not on the street talking about a blockade, not by these numbers. It was always the small groups. It was always the even when we look at the brigades and the delegations, it's always been like these old white people, right? Now we're seeing that the movement behind Cuba to end the blockade has spread, and that was from consistency. So we have to be doing the same thing for Haiti. We have to be consistent in the message that we talk about Haiti, connecting Haiti to these other struggles, prioritizing Haiti, talking about the fundamental reality of Haiti having been not only just the first Black revolution, but a revolution that sparked the revolution across Americas. And what that means, like, you can look at the Venezuelan flag and see the Haitian colors.
Mm-hmm.
That's not insignificant.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that is the type of mass building that we have to continue to make. So I encourage folks, we always have call to actions at the Haiti Americas team. We're popping up outside of embassies. We're dropping letters off. We're doing marches. We're connecting with people around the region to have days of action. So please stay tapped into what the Haiti Americas team is doing so that you can also tap in, have your own PE, and amplify that message around defending Haiti. That's my spiel.
Speaking of defending, bring up the ear doctor to defend us.
Oh.
All right. So as we get up out of here, Jackie, what you got coming up, Darker Than Blue? Anything?
Oh my God, there's so much. I'm going to be talking about this Iran situation and this electronic automatic selective service thing. I have to research it more, but I think what it means is that registering for the selective service will become automatic. Like you don't have to you won't have to go to the post office and do it anymore. When you turn 18, male people, you will automatically be registered for the selective service, whether you do it or not. And that's a problem. And we're going to talk about why. So that's what we're going to be doing for Darker Than Blue.
All right. Tune in and make sure y'all come back here tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. for some more Remix Morning Show. And have a great day, y'all. And we out of here. Remix Morning Show. Peace.
Yeah.